Hey everybody, this is Professor E.Sanborne, and this video is on the force field analysis, or the FFA, analyzing the causes of a social problem in a specific population. The desired outcome is not to eradicate large social problems, because that is unrealistic. The goal is to reduce or eliminate one of many causes of an overall problem, which would make a big overall problem less bad. And I'm saying it that way on purpose, so as to not imply that there's some panacea for solving the world's problems. What there is, though, is a specific analytic process that's logical and realistic and can inform action steps to take to improve quality life for people. Sometimes we can feel powerless over large social problems, but the reality is that we're not without strength to make a difference. You should have a copy of the outline and explanation of steps in hand for following along. It's available for download, and the link is in the description of the video. For this example, I'm using with permission a force field analysis conducted by graduating seniors in the plastics engineering program at UMass Lowell. These three chose a social problem they are passionate about, analyzed causes, picked one cause, and ended with action steps of things they could actually personally make happen based on their own knowledge and resources, which would lessen the overall social problem. So here's their work. Force field analysis analyzing the causes of the stray cat problem in Lawrence, Massachusetts. Notice, by the way, they chose a specific problem in a specific population. Because they're talking about cats, the population doesn't have any demographic qualifiers, so they're not like looking at stray cats with learning disabilities or whatever, but because they're concerned about cats, their population and problem are specific enough. And this is the video they put together to introduce us to their concern. And you know what? If we had a magic wand, what would we want to make happen right here? We'd like there to be no more stray cats in Lawrence, right? And that would be nice. And if you find such a magic wand, please shoot me an email so I can modify this assignment. In the meantime, we're going to analyze the causes of this overall social problem. Too many community-based interventions are based on what I like to refer to as good ideas. As tempting as it is to take off running with your good ideas, because I assume you've named a social problem in population about which you are passionate, you'll be much more effective if you research first and take action based on such an empirical grounding. Our goal will not be to eradicate the entire social problem, because we don't have a magic wand. Our goal will be to reduce or eliminate just one single cause of that overall social problem, and that is how real community change can happen. You might notice that a lot of organizations and people with good intentions waste a lot of time and money running with good ideas because they're passionate about the overall social problem and unwilling to delay the gratification of planning an intervention until the causes of the problem are analyzed. We are connected to one another and to the world in many different ways, so our problems are caused by things at many different levels. There's 5 levels of analysis, and I'm not teaching the ecological levels in this video, but they are covered in the textbook and they're summarized on the handout as well. We're going to generate this exhaustive list of causal factors now, following with the group's sample outline. And I'm going to run through an entire analysis here, start to finish, but I'm going to do so by talking fast in order to cover the entire thing. My thought is that if you are following along closely, you can pause the video as needed, or just watch it in segments. So we've got the problem of the growing stray or feral cat population in Lawrence, Massachusetts. And now for individual level factors, By the way, the individuals in this example are cats. This level is a little comical. If we were analyzing obesity in humans, for example, then the individual level factors would be things like overeating, addiction, lack of knowledge of health risks, hormonal imbalance, sedentary lifestyle. But back to our stray cats for now. Individual level factors. Not spayed or neutered, they can't do it themselves, people might not be aware of the importance. Early pregnancy, a female cat can become pregnant as early as 5 months of age, increasing population rapidly. Demanding, cats need food and care, so they are sometimes cost prohibitive as pets. Might be let out and abandoned due to finances. Age, older cats are not wanted, kittens have more appeal. Mutts, or whatever the word would be for cats, certain breeds are more desirable to people. Great in numbers, 2 cats breeding often leads to 3 to 5 kittens, 3 litters per year. Feral versus stray. Humane Society differentiates between the two. A stray cat is a pet who has been lost or abandoned, is used to having contact with people, and is tame enough to be adopted. A feral cat is the offspring of a stray or feral cat and is not accustomed to human contact. Feral cats are usually too fearful to be handled or adopted. They're also hidden. Humane Society notes that feral cats are often hidden in shelter behind dumpsters, for example, and won't likely approach people. If you are approached by a cat outdoors, it's probably someone's outdoor cat. And cats are easily hoarded. Hoarding of animals, which are often not spayed or neutered. Also, cats can get out of the home and become strays before officials get involved. So those are individual level causes of the problem. You're not trying to come up with the one ultimate cause, you're just naming everything you can possibly become aware of at each level of analysis. That's the individual level. Now we got microsystem level. Families want pets. Cats are constantly being bred, despite being in great numbers already. Family member can have allergies, so the cat has to go. Housing rules. Landlord doesn't allow pets. People feed stray cats around their homes and workplaces thinking they're helping. People do not have the time to commit to caring for a colony of stray or feral cats. There are trap, neuter, return programs, but for them to work, someone needs to be a dedicated caretaker for the colony, which is a multi-year commitment of both time and money. So that's the microsystem level. And again, if we were all doing this together, I'm sure we could come up with more. This is what these 3 in their group had for their own analysis. Organizational level factors, they had animal shelters, have too many animals, cannot find space to house them. Workplaces often do not allow pets, so unsupervised pets breed. Animal control and shelters are underfunded. They cannot respond to all calls or animals. And the trap, neuter, return programs cannot be offered by many shelters anyway due to cost, so they cannot systematically reduce the stray feral cat population over time. So that's organizational level factors, and I can think of a few that aren't here, and I'm sure you can as well. Moving on, though, to locality level, and we are Lawrence, Mass. For this example. They have poor waste management in the community. As is common in urban environments, Lawrence has many abundant sources of food for stray feral cats. It is compounded by the circle of life that has food waste, which is food for stray or feral cats, attracting rodents as well, which is more food for stray and feral cats. Also, Lawrence is surrounded by other cities. Cats from those cities can migrate to Lawrence. Cats can travel 25 miles in 2 days. I did not know that. Lawrence has a high population density of people, more likely for people to feed and encourage stray cat population. And Lawrence has abandoned homes and mills, which offer makeshift shelters for survival or reproductive activities. And the most broad level of analysis is the macrosystem level. They have national perception of owning animals brings joy to life. The dark side is not so public. Public service announcements often focus on animal abuse, not high population of strays. The media doesn't actively promote spaying and neutering, except for Bob Barker, of course.
Bob Barker reminding you, help control the pet population. Have your pet spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.
Folks, help control the pet population. Don't forget to get your pet spayed or neutered. See you next time on Price is Right. Bye-bye.
Government does not have strict limitations on non-exotic pets. No real enforcement for number of domesticated pets in household, other than by landlord rules for renters. And the economic recession leads to more emphasis on taking care of humans rather than animals. So that is their exhaustive list of causal factors at all levels of analysis. Moving on to part 2, now we need to pick one. Of all the causal factors at multiple levels of analysis which we have identified, we've chosen the following locality level factor on which to focus: poor waste management in the community. The Humane Society states that the problem of growing stray feral cat populations is rarely solved by trapping and removing a colony anyway. Community cats, which are feral and stray cats, live at a certain location because it offers food and shelter. If an entire colony is removed, cats from surrounding colonies may move in to take advantage of the newly available food and shelter. The cycle of reproduction and nuisance behavior begins all over again. And there's a reference for that here. We chose this factor because we think it can be changed. And as plastics experts, it's a factor we know something about. We are aware that so-called feeding bans in cities don't usually work to address a stray cat problem. Our factor is more broad in terms of citywide reduction in food sources for stray and feral cats. So again, that's their chosen factor and their rationale for choosing this one to look at. Currently, there is poor waste management in Lawrence, and the ideal situation is for there to be better waste management in Lawrence. So that's their goal statement. The ideal situation is not that there'll be no more stray or feral cats in Lawrence. The ideal situation is for there to be better waste management in Lawrence. So now here we're getting into part 3, which is the actual force field analysis itself. Driving forces, these are all the things at all levels of analysis that push towards that ideal situation for there being better waste management in Lawrence. Because if there were that, there'd be fewer stray cats. I'm not going to read all of these. I'd rather just put them up on the screen for you to read. Here are the driving forces at all levels of analysis. And please pause the video to give yourself a moment to take these in. On the other side of the equation, we have the restraining forces. These are all the things that resist the ideal situation of there being better waste management in Lawrence. And again, I'm not going to read these to you, but I'm going to put them up here on the screen and invite you to pause the video to make sure that you do read through these. Right, so after covering all of those driving forces and restraining forces, in the very end of the analysis comes the most important thing. Choose some forces, small number of them, maybe 2 or 3 from one or each of the lists, and pick forces that you could personally actually address. The idea is that if you could address some of these forces, you could reduce or eliminate the chosen cause, which would improve the situation overall. In this case, they chose some forces with the goal of improving waste management in Lawrence. Here's what they chose. I do want to read these through to you. The first one they chose is to increase the microsystem level driving force of classroom projects, which create the next generation to be eco-friendly and instilling the beliefs onto future generations. This is the group's rationale for choosing this force. We know some educators in Lawrence personally who care about the stray and feral cat problem. We could get them on board with improving waste management in the city because they want to do something about the problem of the growing stray and feral cat population. They are in a position that they could make more classroom projects happen citywide, which would teach more teens to be less wasteful, as our group member experienced in the story he told. So we could do that. The second force, increase this locality level driving force of community gardens. They are here and they are good, but there are only 2 locations and they're not centrally located. More community gardens would mean more compost required to make things grow. People would compost more to contribute to the garden. Spoiled food can still make good compost. This would reduce food waste. We believe we could make this happen by presenting to Lawrence City Council, because the program would not cost the city any money, is self-sustaining, and is valued in small numbers presently. So we could do that too. And the third force they chose was to decrease the individual level restraining force of lack of awareness or concern for the environment. And Lawrence has shown some recent shifts towards improving that awareness, and they had some concrete strategies on how to do that. And in our class, by the way, we are not going to have the chance to actually take these actions because our accelerated semester is so brief. However, you should feel that in your conclusion here, you are pointing to real concrete actions you take. And the logic comes full circle in the end for the FFA. This group could actually make these 3 things happen. These things would push toward the ideal situation of better waste management in the city of Lawrence. And with better waste management, there would be fewer breeding grounds for stray and feral cats. In practice, they would need to document their efforts and track changes. For example, next year, are there more meaningful classroom projects, more community gardens, and better awareness among the people that waste management is important? Since the Humane Society states that the biggest reason for stray and feral cat populations to grow is the ample supply of food and shelter, they will have reduced one cause of the overall stray cat problem. The bottom line is Aiden, Roman, and Morgan, 3 soon-to-be college graduates, could make it happen, that there would be fewer stray cats in Lawrence. And if this is a sustained problem with interest, this is where partnerships come in, because this little group can partner with others concerned about the overall stray cat problem, because other people can address other factors according to their knowledge and resources. Together, we can actually improve the world. And I look forward to seeing where you all go with your work.